Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PPL. I just wanted to say that song was pretty cool. It was pretty lit, as the young ones would say. I was grooving over here as well. And we've also got a chance to see the groove that NIP have picked up. They have gotten their doubleheader started the right way, a 3 over Mouse Sports. Now they are going to face Virtus.Pro, but I don't expect a slowing down. It seems like Diggy Dog has meshed really well.
Yeah, I'll have to see how they fare against a team like Virtus.Pro, who, albeit, the interview, the vibes I got from Elvin Path was like, talk to me about Mary Jane, where was this guy, where'd he come from? He's like, I don't really know. It's kind of some guy from Ranked, if
Right.
you play Ranked in EU, you know who Mary Jane is, yada,
Right.
yada, yada. But I don't know how well that lends itself, like that type of bond or connection from a captain to a player to know, like, what are this guy's strength? What does he like to play? What does he bring to the table? Whereas Diggy Dog, they're good buddies, I think, by this point. Like we mentioned, Diggy Dog's been to every event that NIP has basically been to, so they frankly know each other inside and out, and they know Diggy Dog has this hunger and this drive to want to compete at this level, which is why I feel like, both these teams make that mid-season roster change. If anything, though, NIP feels like they'll be the one to come out on top.
It definitely does seem that way. And I hear what you're saying. I mean, you want to be able to know the ins and outs of the players that you're playing with, and it's almost impossible not to know the ins and outs of a Diggy Dog. That style of guy who's been so dominant, so effervescent, so present for every single big moment, I think, in Paladins history, whether he was on the sidelines, whether he was playing in it, in the QG, Kanga matchup. So he's been there, and people have watched him, seen him. They know what he can do. And the thing is, I think it just adds this really nice piece to NIP. We've been looking at what's going to get them to compete against Fnatic and Na'Vi when the roster shakeup happened. We didn't know what that would be, Nick. But do you think this is the piece? Do you think this is the one?
I think so. They were always sort of missing that world-class blaster player. They had Lazy do it for a time, but excuse me, you could never tell he was like totally invested in it. His Bomb King got pretty good. His Drogos was always there, but it was Worm Jets. He never exactly played the meta, which isn't the biggest problem in and of itself. But I feel like now they've got a guy who is going to be excited to play his blasters, who has the history here, and would rather be on those champions than anything else. In combination with the fact, I think he's just here to grind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he's coming in trying to change the dynamic of NIP too much. And that's probably some of the issues that NIP started to come into as a little bit. They had so many world-class players, personalities, guys who thought games should be played this way or that way or another. But maybe having Diggy Dog come in and just want to grind and just be so hungry will reinstill that hunger into some of those older veteran players.
Also a different, you mentioned this as well, the fact that Diggy Dog playing near Bird physically, being able to have that kind of one-on-one, maybe you have a spout or some type of argument, but you're with the person, so you can see that tension can get broken pretty easily, over pizza a few hours later. But if it's online and it's digital and you don't see them until LAN and there's these tensions, that's some of the stuff that can really hurt you as you're trying to build a team that's ready to compete and perform when you finally get together. So getting themselves in a little bit of a better spot from OCE to Sweden, what a journey for him. But now Virtus.Pro, the Russians who actually played in the World Cup today, and I believe, did they lose? I think they lost to Senegal 2-0. So Elvin Path hoping he can represent the region a little bit better.
They were playing Egypt.
Oh, you're right.
Weren't we just watching that?
That was that Egypt?
I think so. Because I
Egypt,
remember
Russia. You're right.
They
you're
had
right.
the
You're
inverted
right.
flags.
It was Egypt, Russia. Who lost? We'll have to see how that
lost
turned
to
out.
Senegal. We're going to figure out who's going to lose on Stone Keep, though.
I'll find out.
We're loading into draft here, and
Oh, Russia won.
Let's think. Let's think back to
3-1.
Damn nice.
Congratulations.
You think back to what Phoenix said in his interview, exactly what you said. When you're at LAN, it's so much easier to control everyone's, attitude, how they're feeling, how they're grinding, how they're practicing, yada, 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 that they're living together. Diggy Dog just moved in with Bird, essentially, to play these games. That's got to be huge for them.
Yeah, and I think now with the way that Virtus.Pro want to draft as well, I'll levy the question to them. I think more of this is about really Virtus.Pro. I think NIP have proven against the team at the caliber of Mouse Sports, which has beaten Virtus.Pro last week and continues to do so, they can handle themselves. So I don't expect Virtus.Pro to be any different unless Virtus.Pro show up in a way that either changes their drafting style historically, changes their play style historically. Is Elvin Path continuing to play solo and get on that point? Or is he getting enough support? Are they winning those duels? I don't know if Virtus.Pro have it going for them this season.
The Leon's a pretty good band, though. I like that. A decent start, decent switch up, because we've seen 3 different people play Leon for NIP in just the previous set now. When you look at the small adjustments made in the draft, you're seeing the Cassie get let through as well as the Khan. Now, Khan has been big. It's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but it's how do you use it. I think you need a lot of cohesion. You need a lot of synergy. You need a lot of trust to be able to play off of Khan, because Khan is not a character that necessarily does it all on his own.
The other thing, too, the way that Khan is banned in Europe scares me a bit, and the bigger kind of, I think, LAN conversation. We are going to go to a big break and pick that up right when we come back, though, ladies and gentlemen. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more PPL. Another lit song to introduce us back. Great stuff, guys. And thank you so much for sticking with us. We had a little bit of a broadcast break, but we'll be right back here. Or we are right back for the continuation of Set 2. It's NIP versus Virtus.Pro. I levied some questions to you. I can't go through all of them now in case people did hear them or didn't hear them. But the bigger themes that we covered, Nick, Virtus.Pro have something to prove here. Haven't proved it quite yet. NIP, Diggy Dog, personally being there with Bird makes a big difference for them, and we're seeing that. And again, is this the new Leaf? Is this what they needed? That piece, you answered yes.
I think it will be. And I think, they're a team that is close enough now to where they haven't given up hope. Last split, I think fairly early on, they probably gave up some hope there, lost it a little bit.
Definitely.
Halfway through with the way Na'Vi and Fnatic were able to start their split. But if NIP just keep trucking there, they really are in contention for that top 2. But again, must-win games today. They've already won one. Let's put the other one down, get this W, and then maybe look to actually contest Na'Vi one of these times.
And it's just going to be such a important couple of games for them to really not lose any maps at all, because when you look at it, the tiebreaker that matters most before that head-to-head is the maps, essentially. Right. Having that record is going to be so important for them if they want to have a close run for LAN. So they're still fighting for that. Let's see if the draft will show up to be any different. I don't imagine it will be, but you may not have seen it, so we already know what's coming. But Khan, first pick, we talked about his presence. Have you ever seen Khan be just the thing? Like, if Khan's on your team, you win. Have you ever experienced that with Khan, or do you think he's a good pick?
I think he can be an absolute win condition for you, because you sleep on that battle shout heal and the damage boost a little bit there. It's almost like, you have that element of like Bomb King Fernando. I love like Fernando +1 thing, right? And I love Khan +1 thing even more, because I think he just is a little bit less defensive and a little bit more offense if you want to scale that one way or the other on that spectrum. And I think Khan just can be incredible when you pair him with the right, maybe a Drogos or a Bomb King.
Certainly when you make all the right decisions, you've got all the right moves in all the right places lined up potentially there. And Maroon 5, don't sue me. But I do think that we have Inara and Grover here who's definitely going to be looking at controlling space, controlling areas. The crippling throw we saw didn't work out for Koa, but NIP did like the idea, and so they're going to take it themselves. And now it's going to be a barrack here for Virtus.Pro.
And, I'm interested by this Grover. I think, Grover Ultimate could be one way to counterplay a Khan Ultimate, to be honest with you, because on Stone Keep, there's only during the payload push are you even thinking about throwing people off of the map.
Right.
So the second your Inara gets overpowered and you vine to your Inara, just pop your ultimate and hopefully keep her alive.
Yeah, I mean that's the two ways, right? You hold her there and you let your team finish her off. But if that constant burst healing from Grover is offsetting that, it's going to be a tougher task. We saw the Talus get pulled out last week in the PPL. It's now being brought out by Virtus.Pro, who are the first people in professional Paladins play to bring out a Talus and actually get some upset wins. One of the teams they upset with it was NIP. It was one of the reasons why Na'Vi and NIP didn't win that first season, because they lost to Virtus.Pro off these impactful Talus picks. Round it out, Nick, who do you give the edge to?
I really like NIP's draft here, assuming they execute, right? Diggy Dog's EVs looked great in Oceania. Hopefully it'll look great here in the PPL.
Well, let's get into it. Game 1 getting underway. Virtus.Pro and NIP starting our second set of the day.
It's more ninjas in pajamas, guys, but against Virtus.Pro this time around. And we do get to see some EV play against an interesting composition.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how this one goes, because not only does it seem like Virtus.Pro have a little bit going on, like NIP have an execution threshold they have to meet, Virtus.Pro are just going back to things that have been successful in the past, and it's on a map that is just historically their map. They are really good at Stone Keep.
And so going to it first may go in their favor, but NIP was looking real good earlier against Mouse Sports. And as Nick said on the desk, Diggy Dog on this EV pick in Oceania has actually been very effective.
Yes.
So if he can just execute within that same threshold here in the PPL, then you don't have to worry about what sometimes with EV, it's a 50-50. Sometimes you get this really great EV play. Sometimes you get it where it ends up being a bit of a hindrance.
It's a lot that can be on the line. Mary Jane going to be the one flexing onto the con here. And I feel like Mary Jane has filled that role of whatever we need you to play, you're going to play it. It's not much of a question, I want to say, with Virtus.Pro. Is just, we need con here, you're the one who's going to be playing con for us. And it's very good hit scan when it comes down to it. You have someone who regularly plays kind of like snipers, long-range things that can really flex on the con no problem.
I feel like you really need somebody that can do that, right? Some other teams kind of take that mass approach where there's multiple players that can rotate around, but First Blood actually goes to Bird as he takes down Elven Path, Shippa to follow with the kill of his own onto Mary Jane. So a little rough start at first for Virtus.Pro despite the 15% on the objective, but maybe with that flexibility they'll be able to pick it up.
Immediately pushed out and zoned away. That's really the big key right here, is both of the, well, one front line goes down, the other one just doesn't have the presence to really continue fighting. Elven Path just kind of getting void gripped and controlled, and even with Bonker getting thrown right there, I don't know if it's going to make a big difference because the burst healing NIP tends to have.
He then just dodge rolls in the opposite direction, says, I'm okay, guys, I'm okay. 2 supports around, so getting healing from both Genos and Grover in this situation. A little bit of a delay on the objective as Barrick makes his rotation through, even Talus spending his time here, but unlimited power eventually falls, and that 96% is looking mighty dangerous.
It's one of those things you have to fight on the point, or you can just, you know, as NIP go stand down, they're going to be able to step down. You do lose Bonker, but honestly, in the process, he gets so much damage spread throughout Virtus.Pro, a couple of kills thrown in there as well, that it's kind of worthwhile.
I think it was, he went down there because he was realizing, oh, we need to get somebody to touch on this.
Someone has to touch.
Yeah. And then luckily, Nar rotated through to cap it off, especially before Mary Jane touched, because they're also making the rotation in. But in the end, if you're going to die at any point, that's one of the okay times to do so, as Virtus.Pro, right off the back of that, since they didn't get much else in the favor, are choosing their next post to, well, post up for the defense.
I want to say there are 2 kinds of EV games that I would consider good. There's obviously the kind where you're coming through and you're getting triple kills all the time. You're having fun no matter what. And then there's what Diggy been doing so far. Granted, it's only been like a minute, really, of gameplay that he's been able to do it. But it's kind of like that silent EV where it's just like she's not getting all these kills. She's not going off triple kills. But her damage and presence is huge for the team. And that's the perfect kind because no one's looking at you. No one's trying to shut you down. You're just getting free damage all around.
And assisting like crazy, still has the 6th streak going on, same as Genos in this scenario. And because of that, yeah, you're not getting the last hit every time, but you sure are setting up the rest of the team. And right there gets the last hit onto Madara. We are already so close to seeing this payload here at the tail end, taking out 2 members of Virtus.Pro. And I don't know, Ninjas and Pyjamas are just looking as strong as ever with this new addition.
I mean, that EV play is looking clean. I can understand why Nick says Diggy Yeet all the time now. Because it's like, I feel like if you have a good EV, you get on Nick's good side.
So do you think that maybe NIP will become one of his favorites just because they have someone from Kanga?
They brought someone from Kanga up. He's got him. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how that could escalate. I mean, 5-0-4 right now. It's a standard EV build when it comes down to it, right? Teleport and Flicker being kind of run in. Swift Witch at level 3. You're getting a little bit of movement speed. You're getting your heals. You're keeping yourself alive. Your Blink's extended. It's everything that you expect an EV to be running. Impact, I want to say, is probably the outlier. There's been a couple cards that get kind of thrown in there, but reduce active cooldowns by 10% just when you get a kill. 10% is a small smidge off the top. But it's the difference of, do you want to generate 1 ammo and ice block, or do you want to get 10% off? Either way, you're going to be doing fine.
Lots of deathless players on NIP. And start off with it through time and space. It didn't really connect in any effective way, but that's also what happens when you throw it out that early before real prime positioning comes in play. 39% for NIP, already escalating so quickly with Shippa on the objective. Madara does shut down Bonker, so maybe with that opening, they can get a bit of footing under them as Elven Path takes down Digidog.
And I like the way they actually separate that for VP, and now a comeback mechanic. They have decent control of the point, but you're just going to go ahead, you send Shippa off on the side, and Nara is alone, isolated. You grab the Eevee. There's no way to get out. You can't blink, you can't soar. You are not going to be the squirrely little girl. You are going to be held down, and they execute you.
A squirrely little girl.
That's what she is. She's squirrely.
She is. I just imagine an actual squirrel girl when I hear something like that, though. There's the Dragon Punch. Right into Shippa, 97% for Virtus.Pro. With that comeback mechanic, but Digidog and Bonker bring it back a bit. Overtime settles on down. 2 down on both sides, though. Digidog with a bit of the cleanup, even steps on it because he does not want this overtime to expire, attempting to buy as much time as possible until the rest of the team persists, even throws out the Ice Storm so Bird and Sheepa get here in time to help clean it up.
So what Digidog just did there is the reason I love Eevee. There's so much you can do on the point in just a small space. There's not even a lot of movement. It's just the fact that you're never in one spot for so long that you actually end up dying. And so he's the reason that point stays alive as long as it is. Just keeping that overtime timer resetting, and then the rest of the team shows up. You just have to hold it until someone else can come in, and the entire time he's getting 800 damage off every shot.
He didn't rush any of his abilities, too. Waited as long as he could on the Ice Storm. And finally, the rest of the team respawned and came back as soon as possible. And that was Virtus.Pro's chance, right? They got to 99%. They had comeback mechanic going for them. If they get the defense here, they'll still have comeback mechanic, and maybe they can repeat if they manage to charge up and hold a lot of their ultimates. But right now, NIP, they have Seismic Crash online. Not long before Through Time and Space comes online as well. Some of the other ultimates soon to come. So Virtus.Pro, they don't have many resources to dish out right now on this defense.
Scout is in this perfect area as well, where it's not just going to help Bonker get a lot of these shots, but it kind of gives Digidog the idea, where do you want to go? How do you want to approach this fight as well? You kind of take it from several different angles. You can come in. Those shots from Madar are really good. Going to be able to shut down Sheepa for at least a little bit, but the problem is that's a minute 20 and it's still moving.
If you can see consistent stuff like that, sure, but he had a great angle where there were enough on the opposite end balcony that were distracting NIP, so they couldn't necessarily react to his shots. And now Digidog and Perdo picking up a couple kills. They're not going to position in that same place again. Virtus.Pro have everybody down and out except for Unlimited Power. And now it's just Maldamba standing alone. A good old Ice Storm on the side, and NIP just crushing it in game 1 against VP.
Mad Mac in like the worst spot you could put a support in, where it's like, hey man, you're gonna have to jump down on the payload all alone with 5 members all around you, and it's not going to last long.
And I mean, with VP, they had their moments. Okay, we got a few kills in good succession. Here's the Drogos. Great, we took a Nara off of the objective, but it was never enough time for them to fully capitalize. So I think we really enjoyed NIP over here watching the game. What did you think at the desk?
All right, well, capitalizing means you got to have some capital, and right now the only one with numbers in the bank is NIP. They've got to win 1-0 now, and it looks like Virtus.Pro, again, chasing the elusive kind of victory in Season 2.
Unfortunate for them, and they take a bit of a gamble with this draft. You know, we saw some highlights from Mary Jane and they're from snipers, right? So to have him on the con is a little weird. Elven Path is kind of the hard and fast front line for me anyway, again, this Virtus.Pro, but he does pick up the occasional weird-ass pick that they want to draft, like the Talus, and Talus hasn't worked for a while. Like, Bugsy looked okay with it the last time I saw him run it, whereas NIP, you know, they get something that's flexible for them. It's a little bit of a stretch, just a little bit there. But, I mean, Eevee there with Digidog, the only time he dies is to a con overpower the whole game. So pretty incredible start to performance from his Eevee.
He's got, I think, Elven Pass number from beginning to end. You mentioned Mary Jane subbing into what that frontline role that Elven Path usually owns for this game. But actually, you know, they've been doing that for a little bit here. And Mary Jane running that Fernando when he first came in. We thought maybe it was to keep them comfortable. But then we see Elven Path on, you know, a little bit more of these offensive roles more often. And we start to think maybe this is just where he feels he's best for this team. Maybe it's just like a coach or, you know, a dad filling a role that maybe he doesn't want to take out the trash. You know, the son might be better at doing that, or the daughter, whoever it is, oldest child. But he's doing it because no one else is there. Everyone's on vacation. So at this point, I think Virtus.Pro have to get their identity. They got to get it quick. I mean, how do you go about this in a season that's just been filled with losses, marred with roster swaps, and kind of decisions that haven't worked out?
I mean, they're definitely not making land at this point, I don't think. There's only a week left after this week. This is a big match for them because NIP at this point are kind of considered that third spot. So if you're not beating number 3, there's absolutely no way you're breaking top 2. So Virtus.Pro, they got to find something. They got to do a little soul searching maybe and get ready for the fall split.
Maybe a nice vacation. I don't know. I mean, sometimes the wildest things will get you back in your center and ready to roll. We've got obviously maps on your screen now. It's going to be Frog Isle for map 2. And, we are talking a little bit as if the set's already over, but it's not. And NIP, although taking a 4-0, doesn't mean that Frog Eye won't be different. We did see Mary Jane with some highlights here on the Strix, so maybe a sniper in the works for Virtus.Pro as far as their strategies, but we'll have to wait and see. Maeve ban again for VP. We'll see if they go for the Eevee ban, which has been a very common one. They actually ban out the Strix themselves.
Just put NIP in a situation, ban Kinessa, or we're probably getting hurt. NIP go ahead and they ban out the Khan. Say, I think we've got what we need to deal with that. They let it go, and it's kind of like letting Makoa go. Obviously, they've got a plan. It's not like, oh no, we forgot about Kinessa, but they pick up the Eevee and say, yeah, we see you.
And they're not really too worried. Kinessa and Strix both fallen a little bit out of favor with the zoom changes, but as intended to produce more effective results or the right results at the right times and less effective results at the times when they shouldn't be dominating, zooming down a scope when you're 5 feet away from them and still having an easy route to your dome as they headshot you for all of your health. Cassie here, grab. She's a girl who needs no range indicator to do damage. Long, short, medium, you got it. She's got everything you need, especially with a Luminary Genos on top of it.
It's a really good draft from VP so far. I got to say, I'm pleased with it. They get the Genos taken away from NIP. It's something they've had almost all day at this point. And Nara will come through. And Nara Damba is plenty to lean on, and the way that Sheepa has been able to get his team out in front on the capture point with Genos is backing him up, I can only imagine what he's going to be able to do on a Nara with Damba behind him.
And you assume a Terminus is here. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's one of Elven Path and Virtus.Pro's most signature champions, but they opt for the Barrack. They decide that this is a little bit better, maybe to play a little more risky, maybe a little bit more damaging. Although they will lose a lot of sustain, especially considering Barrack and Genos is no matchup for Nara Maldamba.
And I think that's why they go to the Barrack, quite frankly. They know no matter what they do, even with the Terminus, they're not going to win that front. So let's double down on the damage and try and frag out to get this victory.
Shaolin taking last for NIP. Things are set. I don't know if this is going to be any different for...
I actually really like VP's draft here, to be honest.
Do you really? You think it's enough to win?
I think if they have everything they need to frag out with, it's up to them at this point.
Well, I guess it's up to Diggy Dog to prove that he was worth picking up here, dropping Sim Salu. And as he most likely will be piling to Eevee, all eyes will be on NIP and their new star, seeing if they can overcome Virtus.Pro yet again in game number 2.
I think the Virtus.Pro composition has the potential for some really standout plays because of Genos onto all of these damage dealers.
Yeah.
And on the opposite side, you can say the same just because who is on some of these picks.
I think I want to echo like what Nick had said, where it's just like VP have a great draft. This really does come down to the players, and they have a few players that are looking to be on a lot of comfort picks here. I'm kind of hoping it's Mary Jane on this Kinessa because, again, I just love watching that guy snipe. But
Same.
when it comes down to it, it's a lot of execution threshold. They've gone for this composition that I think we've seen a lot in Europe, where it's just use the solo Barrack frontline that it's been eking through into other metas, other regions, I should say, where if you can run that, I think that's one of the things that gives teams like Fnatic like a leg up, is being able to run that successfully.
For sure. And here on Frog Isle, if you can make that work with Elven Path, who is very rehearsed in frontline play, you do have Mary Jane on the Kinessa. I think a lot of these picks are ones we've seen these players on time and time again. But is it enough to thwart what NIP's got going for them right now? 3-0 in their first set of the day, a dominating performance in game number 1. You've got Diggy Dog back on this Eevee, even Bonker back on the Leon. It should be quite the game.
I'm genuinely trying to think of a player that's going to be uncomfortable in this matchup, and I cannot think of a name right there, though. Elven Path, probably the not right spot to throw down your turret. Not going to matter too much overall, but the barricade goes down, and Diggy Dog actually gets first blooded.
Yeah, in the favor of Virtus.Pro for that one, and finally Elven Path with that opening can make the rotation towards the objective, since Inara actually backed off for the time being. But how long is he going to be able to stick around before NIP go ahead and collapse upon them? They're not afraid to take their time, but Perdeaux, lots of damage from Unlimited Power, who just shuts him down.
That boxing match really needed to go in favor of NIP to make a difference. Diggy Dog doesn't feel, I want to say, confident in being able to go in right here. I don't think there's a good spot for him to try and go in and do the thing Eevee needs to do to get rolling. So right now, Virtus.Pro, 96%. They've just been sitting on the point for free.
Man, Unlimited Power just has been able to throw so many shots in, and even when he gets low, just enough healing comes up for him. So Virtus.Pro, 99%. There's your 100. they get their first point of the set.
Looking clean with the way things go. But again, this is another map and definitely a draft that plays into their strengths all around. Madara going to be on that Cassie, Unlimited Power on the Bomb King. Both of these very big comfort picks. And the way Unlimited Power has been holding a lot of these angles, again, you're not seeing damage numbers come out a lot of the time because, okay, no one's there. But there's a reason no one's there, and it's taking away so much space from NIP to actually fight.
We did see a similar situation in the earlier set. Mouse Sports in game number 2 took the first point and went quite far. So I don't know if it's going to be a repeat of that or if Virtus.Pro can keep this up as they do pass 60% on the objective. Mary Jane, on Frog Isle specifically, have seen a lot of Kinessa and Strix from this player.
That was one of those shots that is like, I was just off the mark for a headshot. Like, it was just a second too late to be a headshot. The reaction time kind of bringing your shot down just a little bit to hit that 1200 instead of the insta-kill that would have been with Eagle Eye. But they're looking to push this in. I mean, 1:30 left. You're finally getting some kills on the side of NIP.
That's a long time for NIP to have to hold this defense unless they get one good team wipe where they can just pressure forward so significantly. Right now, they lost 3 players, though. Virtus.Pro only losing 2. Is it going to be enough, though, with these 2 damage dealers and that sustain applied to keep this going? They don't have anybody that can actually stay on the objective, and because of that, NIP keep this going.
Bird applied a lot of pressure there just as the Maul dominated. It's one of those things, the Gourd is kind of a double-edged sword depending on which side you're looking at. I mean, you're going to do great healing once you throw it down, and it kind of shuts down Barrick, at least in the sense that he's going to want to stand on this payload. You can get a little bit of damage. It can help just augment a little bit more for your team to get in there, have a little bit more confidence, and the damage they're doing and the control they have.
This was a decent amount of time that NIP bought. Took a bit for Virtus.Pro to regather themselves, and Shiva taking Unlimited Power off the table right at the bat. I'm sure Virtus.Pro is looking to have some huge fight breakout, and that's how they would be able to complete it going through. All ultimates available to if they wanted to use them, but also worth potentially saving for the next round. Shiva takes too much damage right there, though. Madara getting lots of kills to their name. Bonker's the only one alive, forced to come forward and immediately punished for it. Virtus.Pro looking pretty good on this. An attempt from Digidog to get onto the objective, not able to do so, and into 2-0 for VP.
Tried to hold it as long as he could using the ice block, but again, the thing that NIP do, and I guess at the end of the day Virtus.Pro did as well, was a lot of trigger control. They didn't pop any ults, they didn't panic. Digidog is not having the game you need on Eevee, and this is one of the things we saw last week, we saw the week before, where it's just if you have an Eevee, your team is going to live or die based on how great that Eevee is doing. And 0-5-0 means you're so far dying, and that would explain the 2-0 in favor of Virtus.Pro right now. This round has to be a complete turnaround for this Eevee to make a big difference, but a lot of that actually isn't on Digidog. It's kind of on Bonker Perdo to get a little pressure for him.
2-2-2 for Bird is the best stat line, I believe, for NIP right now, which is not where you want to be. And you look on the opposite end, 3-1-7, 6-1-3, 7-2-2, 2-1-0, unkillable on Mad Mac on the support right now. NIP have a lot to turn around with a credit deficit to their name as well. So I think, especially if you're looking at Bo versus Bo, I think Shaolin needs to get some stuff online, some great shots coming out of Mary Jane right off of the bat. And Unlimited Power gets another early kill onto Digidog. Here's it through time and space right across the map as well.
I mean, just keeping them locked down, and then you open up this pathway, you come up. No one was watching for him. Perdo going to go down. Mary Jane gets the last clip, but a lot of that damage is Unlimited Power. Now he's getting aggressive, even maybe too aggressive since he does go down, and that might be something to open up the path for NIP.
Oh boy, 72% right now, though. There's one ultimate to come out. Bonker actually gets the double kill off of this, so maybe they can start to move in currently. Get those heals online, try to top off everybody who is still alive, and that 66% with comeback mechanic is going to climb quite significantly.
Standing on the point. It's going to be your best bet. Comeback mechanic in favor for NIP, which honestly sounds about as scary as it should. You're going to grab that point incredibly fast.
Even used the Dread Serpent right there. They saw that Elven Path was attempting to inch his way towards the objective. They didn't even need to get the kills. They just needed to delay as much as possible. Madara with a double kill, though. Elven Path picking another one up. So NIP, a little bit of a slowed roll right off of the bat.
Getting pushed back incredibly hard at the beginning of the push, but that's not the end of the day really for NIP. I'm still curious and patiently waiting for Digidog to kind of step up. The Eevee, again, every time I've heard that blink in, I'm like, okay, when's the damage coming? When's the kills going to start rolling through? But it just hasn't been able to get full rolling yet. I think one kill, just one trade going in favor will kind of build that confidence back up that you can get for the fight.
Indeed. But here we go, NIP, it's all the way back to the starting point for this payload still. Virtus.Pro, short of Bomb King, thanks to Perdo. And Bonker, he is getting nitty-gritty right in the face of Elephant Path. Bird's the one to go ahead and clean it up, and maybe right now they can start to get some rolling with this payload. And a minute 20, it's not the best case scenario, but it's also not the worst time to cover some ground, especially when you can get this forward positioning in this manner against VP.
Couple of kills, actually not really rolling through, a lot of damage coming down from NIP that's kind of kept VP pushed back and poked, but the fact that they're not getting kills, they're not buying as much time. They're just getting that space for now. Minute left, and the payload's finally coming around 50%, so you still have the potential to push this in, and you're starting to feel more comfortable. Ice Storm's almost ready. You almost have Enlightenment back as well, so a lot of potential for kills to close out the round.
Things for sure do feel a bit more in their sights at this point. Payload hasn't stopped up, and you see about 3 or 4 members of Virtus.Pro on the opposite end do take out Digidog once more. It's a trade onto Murdar, though, as well. And the Bomb King falls again. So NIP, with these ultimates finally up, they're gonna maybe not even need to use them if they can continue just landing their in-hands in this fashion, and that's the case. So they push it through to tie it up 2-2.
Control. That is exactly what NIP got. That is what they held on to. And it was kind of, I want to say, patient control as well. It wasn't like we're going to get aggressive in your face, locking in the base, or just kill you whenever we happen to see you. It was just, we're going to sit back here. And, you know, Bonker's going to stand over there. We're going to have Perdo stand over there. You show your face, you're going to get shot. Like, it was just kind of, it just felt methodical from them. Very natural, just patience.
Pretty much the theme of that round, from the capture all the way through the push, and not being phased when they spent so much time getting oppressed by Virtus.Pro.
Oh, okay, I guess I died again. Oh, we'll come back. Very relaxed, like nonchalant is how I imagine NIP throughout all of that.
And I liked the way that Bonker was playing in that fight as well. Digidog's currently 1-8-1 though. Something needs to change. They did get 2 points even with that case, so it might be one of those things where they end the game and it's not that impressive a stat line, but we still got the job done. But here's some ultimates right off the bat. Digidog did pick one up onto Mary Jane. Madara throwing it back onto the EV player, though, through time and space, attempting to clip, but actually passes right by everybody on the enemy side. As NIP 30%. And Madara, he's back getting these shots right into the faces of NIP.
Right now, locking down Mary Jane or Madara is probably the biggest thing you need to do as NIP. On the other side, you're locking down everyone you need to. You kind of keep Digidog from doing anything. And then once you get rid of Bonker, it seems like the rest of the team doesn't have quite as much. That was a beautiful set of shots from Madara and Mary Jane to just make sure that Digidog, like, he showed his face for a second and he was gone.
That was one way to completely disintegrate somebody. But Virtus.Pro, 99%. Overtime settles in. You don't have your Anar, though. There's Bonker coming through with a kill, but gets taken out immediately after. So Virtus.Pro capture for their 3rd point of the game.
That was almost the hottest play you could have made to turn this game around. But again, it's almost not quite there. It was just kind of an unfortunate circumstance where everyone on VP reacted instantly to that Enlightenment coming out, and it was just the perfect timing for them. And of course, I will say Mad Mac, until just recently, had been undying throughout this entire game. A huge streak for him that does get picked up by NIP, but ultimately, it came a little bit too late for me. Again, the control, the point, everything that he was supplying in terms of damage was already there.
And even though getting taken out a couple times, Madara, I think, also has had a huge role in a lot of these fights. Yeah. Landing so many of the shots and taking out, whether it be the back line on the enemy side, helping eliminate Anar earlier in the cases to offer that objective control to their own team. And about minute 35 to go on this push, and they've made much more progress than NIP did during the last round at this point. But at the same time, NIP do have room to try and defend.
A minute and a half. And that's not unheard of on this map, especially with the way these two go, and especially considering the way the last set went. You can tell that NIP are trying to figure out the ground they need to stand on here on this map, where it's not only just the draft, but the way Virtus.Pro is playing. It's a lot cleaner than it was in map number 1, similar to how Mouse was a lot cleaner in game number 2. But you're still in those like murky waters. You don't know the clear end for you or your team. You're just hoping for the best.
Sometimes that's all you can do, man. Just hope for the best and see what happens. But right now, the best case is you hope to get this payload online, right? But where exactly is your opening? You're attempting to find it. And here, Mary Jane can try and leave a bit of an opening if he can find the back line and maybe take out the Maldamba, but they're all hiding behind the rocks because they know how much distance that some of the damage dealers on VP have to take to keep themselves safe.
Mary Jane, Madara, and Unlimited Power have a very unique build right now, especially in their team comp, where they can kind of capitalize, I guess, on what Mary Jane does. You keep them locked in a very specific spot for their cover, and that gives you a spot where you know, as a Cassie, as a Bomb King, I can put a little bit of damage here, and I should be able to find a kill.
There's Ice Block. Maybe Diggy Dog can rotate around, start getting things super online at this point. Few ticks of damage onto Virtus.Pro, but a nice heal up. And you're just looking for the cleanup after Mary Jane took down Bonker, Diggy Dog, and Perdo, both picking up a couple kills in their favor, and NIP get the defense.
One of the things that's been mentioned both on the desk and throughout casts, specifically with Diggy Dog, is that he is staying with Bird. And it's one of those areas where, because he's maybe, you know, with someone who can kind of comfort him in the event, you know, in person, be able to just be like, dude, snap back into it, pay attention, we're in game, don't, you know, let this affect you. I feel like that is actually helping. This is a very good example when it's like, man, I'm 0-5-0 after the first round. I didn't do anything for my team. I got no assists. I was not able to find any kills. My damage was really just kind of laughable. And it's still honestly not that great in comparison to where we could have seen it either last game or if he was having a great game. But he's been able to bounce back from that and having clean ender rounds. And I think that's, leading into this, very important for the last point.
Yep, 1-8-1 is what he ended the last round on. I think it's 4-11-6 right now. So slowly evening itself out just a little bit. And right now, you see Sheepa's already rotated towards the objective. With Elfin Path, he's been kind of waiting because as Barrick, you often have to do that if you're facing off against the Inara with that Maldamba healing. And Unlimited Power constantly taking to that stairwell to try and find either Diggy Dog or Perdo on that back line. But Sheepa, too much damage from the Bomb King right now. Getting some good heal up though, but Diggy Dog gets a kill onto Unlimited Power. Mad Mag with it through time and space, dishes it back though.
I think being able to pick up the Bomb King now, Elven Path as well, going to be able to make a big difference. 33-51 now as NIP get aggressive. Bonker moving up forward. Doesn't have Enlightenment back, didn't get the 50% charge when he used it earlier. They still have Dread Serpent, they still have Ice Storm, so a lot that gives them control on the side of NIP.
We're seeing kind of what we saw during the second round. There's not anything on the kill feed right now, but the pressure is still on, so Ninjas and Pyjamas are able to get the last point they need and take the game.
Sometimes you just gotta lock them away, and when it comes down to it, you build this little fence of damage players, and it's just like, try to walk past us. You can't get there mounted, because they're just mounting you once you walk out of the base. And you get there about half health at best if you can make it past them.
And that was the thing where you had Virtus.Pro take the first 2 points, and then NIP went into the next one. And yes, they got a couple of those early kills that allowed them to take control of the map. Once they did have control of the map, they didn't really use a lot of ultimates. They just supplied that consistent form of damage where even if it didn't result in kills, nobody on the opposite side could do anything. And it was kind of the same case here in the last point fight.
And for me, a big trade that happened for the last round that I think is more important is, yes, Diggy Dog died, but he took out Unlimited Power with him instead of just dying. And that's kind of the big key, is every other time you've had that Bomb King just move up on the ramp and pressure out NIP to the point where no one could fight. That time, Eevee is at least able to take him out, and that changes the entire point fight for VP.
NIP find themselves in a similar situation, up 2-0 in this set. So let's throw it back to the desk before game 3.
Thanks, Gabby and Gore. Great job. I think this is a quintessential moment that I want to harken back to confidence and trust. Bird and Diggy Dog playing together. The ability to take on a sniper, being the team without a sniper, and go, we're going to feel confident with our Eevee play. Ends up being the difference. He picks up a big kill on Unlimited Power, but I think the ability for them to say, you're new, first week in and out, and we are still going to trust you with a very swing vote type of character matchup, I think speaks volumes for how they feel about Diggy Dog.
It's rough. You know, that's a 1-8 start for him. This is a very good map for Virtus.Pro. Albeit kind of the same thing could be said for NIP to some extent, but they get their power picks. I don't know who else you want each of these players on. They have an amazing start, an amazing game up until the end there. I think Unlimited Power, Madara combined for about 30 and 10 kill to death ratio, excluding assists. You put Luminary on there. It's like, how does Diggy Dog win any of those duels? So he couldn't even get to Mary Jane. That wasn't even in the conversation, and that's unfortunate because he's getting smoked by that sniper a couple of times. But how do you even win those duels until you get to COT 3, until you get to late game? It was a struggle, but NIP hung in there.
And that's the thing about them, that you want to see these types of situations where they get pressured and they have adversity arise from maybe a team that they don't expect it from, or a moment where they feel that they should be winning. It's a very good thing to test the waters on now. Do they crumble and collapse? Do they find a way back through to the light? And I think they did really well. It was patient. It was calculated almost, but they ended up just kind of sneaking and slowly just getting that point fight, zoning out, and it was just over. Couldn't get back.
Yeah, you see great moments there from NIP. A good win for them, a tough loss for VP. I like seeing Peridot flex a little bit as well because, like we talked about on Split Zone, he's great at what he does, but has not been very flexible. Really hasn't picked up the Zen, to be honest with you. Shaolin, Blasters, forget about it. Shaolin is definitely that projectile character that most hit scans can and probably should be able to play at this level.
Right.
So it's good to see NIP already making strides and adjustments around that.
And it feels like it translates well to, skill relative in gaming. So I think Shaolin is going to be a high skill cap, a successful character. Peridot, right, the one we talked about that said maybe the least flexible on this NIP roster, but with more flexibility to the roster, gives him the flexibility to not flex.
Like that. I like that.
What I mean? Doesn't have to flex so much because there's so much more flexibility added with Diggy. So I think this is going to be a great look for NIP. Can they close it out here? 3-0 potentially coming through. We got maps ready on your screen now for NIP. Taking it to Jaguar Falls, and Virtus.Pro backs against the wall. Comfort picks, comfort picks, comfort picks. I think Mary Jane and the rest of, Madara, Unlimited Power, we've all seen highlight clips from them on Frog Isle. I think they love that map. I think that was their best shot at getting a win here. And they're going to go straight away with the Bomb King pick.
I was wondering about this because I was like, I think BK and Drogos are the conversation on this map, but that means a Maeve is likely to squeak through. Maeve or Khan or Cassie is making it through at this point. NIP have a big question to answer, and they'll throw the Khan out.
And that's the thing. She's going to let us have something because the Drogos is also, again, very prioritized. So you would expect a Maeve maybe selected here. You have the Buck picked up for NIP, though, and maybe
Buck
your front
Genos?
line. That could combine with that. It's going to be the Inara as the Terminus not banned, still available, but they did not pick it last time. They opted for the Barrack, which worked well for a while, but didn't fully get the job done.
We'll have to see which support VP go for. Maeve's still on the board. She was first banned every single time and now has survived 5 picks deep. Make that 6 as Genos is locked in for VP. So funny how that works. She's very loved and beloved, but, I think she does best against frontliners, and no one's really picked too heavily into that yet.
Shaolin here is grabbed again for NIP. And the Pip. We've seen this in Game 2, I believe, actually. Splitstone Quarry for the Mouse Sports NIP set. So they'll be going back to that. If it was the same, it would be Bird there. And Barrack again selected. Terminus left out to dry.
Probably. Maeve stays
like some dirty laundry.
Up and available. Comes through 9th. Better late than never, I suppose. That would have been really weird to see her not picked or draft.
Elven Path was Terminus main his entire life since the champion came out, and now just sworn off him.
Man, they picked the Fernando straight into the Maeve as well. If you got to go for a frontliner, I don't mind that, though. I mean, if I think you bring the Immortal onto the table, just get rid of the Dragon Punch, I think he can do a little bit more probably than the Terminus would in this situation. I also think he combines with offensively, at least with this Shaolin or this Buck, to make more space.
And with the Inara, you could leave him on just zoning duty. He's not really going to be playing defensive.
Yeah.
I think that's what NIP love doing. They take that fat flanker, so to speak. Same job, same damage, just a little bit more health, a little bit more wiggle room, and that's what NIP are hoping to use to finish off this set in their favor. It's 2-0 to NIP to complete their second match of the day, their second set of the day with a win. They'll need one more game. Will it happen for them on Jaguar Falls?
Well, it's VP's last chance to keep themselves in this set. And NIP, they really need both of these victories because they're really facing off against Na'Vi right now and trying to get that second seed spot within the region.
This feels a lot to me kind of like similar to going into the last game where it's both teams have pretty much what they need in their toolbox. They have everything they need to approach the problem, and the question is just how do they do it and who can solve it a little bit better. Is VP going to be able to come in just as strong? They have exactly what they need to do it. And I'm kind of interested to see if they can execute at that same level because there's a lot going on for them, at least in terms of just finding a win at this point.
And when Maeve makes it through the bans, She makes it onto the battlefield. Right now, it's unlimited power that's bringing that to the table. And a big job ahead of you. But you've got other utility as well. The Dragon Punch, if you want to take care of that Nara. You do have to be aware of the Immortal, depending on who exactly you're targeting. And we'll have to see how everything shakes out.
No summit in Bonkers loadout means no memes and knocking yourself up with the wall. But you will have Steadfast, 750 health, and then a lot of healing, keeping yourself alive. And of course, just making sure that you have your damage reduction. Although right now, it's not doing a lot for you. That wall has to come up. You're at 783.
But that burst healing from the Pip, though. You put up the wall just long enough for him to say, I got you, bruh. And then all of a sudden, you're almost all the way back to full HP. Right now, chunked down low once more, though, as Virtus.Pro attempts to focus him down. Diggy rotating, sees that there's movement on the other side, but Perdo's the first one with the first blood onto unlimited power.
Just a beautiful set of flanks. Perfect for Fernando and Buck. You get a shield and you get a shotgun. Either way, you're going to be happy, and no matter what, you have a lot of damage with the fireball, and Buck just being Buck as well, being able to get aggressive, and that immediately pushes them through. Really good positioning and a good call from NIP.
And that's why they're able to get past 70% right now on the objective. Virtus.Pro, it looks like they're going to have a hard time making their way back into this fight, especially because Diggy, he's just kind of keeping his eye on one place, right? Even if I don't have the flashiest play right now, I'm making sure they don't have that access point. They go ahead and capture. Now it's time to push, and it was all about just holding all of the different access points.
Sometimes the utility you have is just stopping them from using something on the map, something in their kit, being able to kind of control that. Either you can cripple them to make sure they can't leap away, or you slow them to make sure that it's going to control them, or you stop them from coming around X corner because it gives them just a small positional advantage. Right now, that is exactly what NIP have been able to accomplish. Perdo finding a kill right there, and they're looking like they're feeling pretty confident in this map.
Yeah, Perdo on this Buck, definitely able to get aggressive, and you can see that with these angles that he's taking, pretty short range in front of the members of Virtus.Pro, but able to duck behind the walls whenever he needs to heal up. And the pressure from Nando right now burned so low into Elven Path that with Perdo and Diggy able to clean it up right there, there was just no hope for the Barrack.
Good shots coming through, and again, I like the way Diggy playing these angles, because it's not, oh, I'm going to find a ton of kills. It's just, I'm going to get you super low, so you either have to poke me again, or we're going to push you back into your base. There's no option for you to really fight at this angle, and with the way things are going, NIP holding pretty much every angle they need to be able to keep VP kind of locked in the base.
Jeez, and there's your push. That was so clean right there. 2-0 for NIP. And I think those moments from Diggy are what show that he's this high-level player, right? Not only those dance moves right now as he's sitting in the spawn zone, but the thing, I feel like when you come onto a new roster, it's easy to get caught up in a way where you want to show out, right? And prove, hey, I deserve to be here. Look at all these kills I can get. But he also just had those moments of, I'm going to do what my team needs. I don't need to be the one out there getting the quad right now. I just need to be the one that's poking them right outside their spawn doors.
That was a deathless round for NIP. Sheepa going into the master riding, and I like this again. You're looking at Perdo, who can close that gap really well, but Sheepa, if they go around the side the exact same way they did before, I expect a fireball and a shotgun to be coming pretty much right into your back as VP, and you can see immediately he's made so much distance, a lot of ground covered, and it's just getting him there to set up a little faster.
And unlimited power just hasn't been able to do anything on this map just yet. Here's the Dragon Punch. Oh, and even then, when it seems like it's your guaranteed opportunity to get a kill, just too much shut you down. Sheepa ends up eliminating you instead after using that Immortal, the Buckwild to follow. And that 39% that Virtus.Pro achieved is going to get passed right about now.
That is such a big heal. When played properly, Pip can be ridiculous, and right now Bird is doing exactly that. I mean, he's sitting up on one balcony, he is focusing on two front lines, and that is the only people he's really worried about. Obviously, Perdo going to be able to keep himself alive using that heal right there. And now getting aggressive, 48 to 39. Not big numbers on the percentage, but big kills.
Sheesh, Virtus.Pro, you're not looking so happy right now because Ninjas in Pyjamas, pretty much everybody just got a kill under their belt in that point in time. 84%. Looks like this kitty cat wants to make it back to the point in time, but that's just not going to happen. So Ninjas in Pyjamas get point number 3.
I feel like that was like just so typical Buck, where it's like, man, I'm really low. You can come get me, but I'm around the corner. You jump out, he just recovers, gets all of his health back, and then his team kills you. There's no way that you can win that engagement. Even if you jump around and he heals back up, you're going to eat a lot of damage. So Maeve was kind of between a rock and a hard place trying to make that decision. And all the while, NIP just grabbed the point.
This has to be quite quite disheartening for Virtus.Pro right now. Yeah, they've got some kills here and there, but not any that have allowed them to make any leeway in objective. Right now, Madara falls once more. Digidog does take a lot of damage, forced to back out before he's killed off, but Virtus.Pro is all the way forced back to kind of this last area of the choke.
Evil Mojo is charged up. You almost have Immortal back, but honestly, I think you really only need maybe this Evil Mojo well-placed and well-timed to be able to find this, especially with the way damage has been going and the kills have been picked up. This is NIP just full control.
We're at 6:04 on the clock right now, and NIP are looking real good for this potential push. They do lose the Nando, but they take out a lot of the damage. Here's the Evil Mojo. Smack into the face. Elven Path gets the full brunt force of it. Mad Mac eliminated, and this is a 6:20 timer on this game as NIP closes set.
About as fast as you can get it. There's a little bit of time the VP was able to stand on the point for that second round, but it wasn't really that much.
I'd say that's pretty impressive. So if NIP were wanting to make a statement with Digidog added to the roster, do you think they made it?
I think they made it, honestly. I mean, 5 out of 6 games they played today, he did really well. The only one I would say is kind of muddy was the one on Frog Isle, where it was a little back and forth, but I think he still had enough presence in that map that it made a difference.
Well, it's been quite the performance from NIP between both their sets here today, so we're going to send it back over to Rain Day and Pretty Hair to close it all out for you.
Thanks, Gavin Gore. Great job on the mic. And again, we will be closing the show soon. It was a great performance. NIP did everything they needed to do. They won both their games in the doubleheader, didn't lose a map.
Yep.
So 6-0 for them on the day. That's all you can ask. But Digidog being introduced into their lineup.
Especially when it comes down to probably a tiebreaker map differential is more than likely to come into play between them and Na'Vi if Na'Vi continue to do well as well. And that's so important for them to be able to make land. They got to break the top 2 spot. Great show from NIP all around, though. Sheepa looking great. Bird looking really incredible on the pip as well.
You know, Sheepa obviously filling that role, often underrated, not talked about. Doesn't play the sexiest of, I think, classes all the time in terms of his role, often either flopping on a support or a front line or maybe an odd damage pick here. But did a great job making some big plays, saving his teammates, and, of course, contributing damage on that Fernando. It's a guy that you love having in your team and a guy that NIP have done a lot of work with in the past, one of the most veteran players as well. That is going to wrap things up here. We obviously have the standings to take a look at as well for the entirety of the PPL in Europe thus far. And as you can see, NIP, I don't know if this is just a graphic or if this is technically the case. I mean, obviously they have a win ahead of Not As Sincere. There are a game played ahead as well. So Na'Vi now in the driver's seat to win their next set. And, of course, the big thing is next week. Can NIP keep this up against some more maybe troubling competition? And here is the schedule coming up for the rest of the week. It just started on Tuesday, but we got a doubleheader with SK as well. And then NIP actually get a break on Thursday, so they're not playing until next week.
Yep, they will have some tough matches ahead. I believe they still have one more game against Not As Sincere. That ain't going to be an easy one.
No, not at all. And Na'Vi will be the pressure on them Thursday to compete and get those wins. And, of course, these teams not only fighting for July's land, fighting for the ultimate land, the ultimate show at HighResExpo.com. You can grab your tickets for the HRX this year, November 16th to 18th, PCW, Paladins Console Wars, Paladins World Championship, and, of course, all the cool Smite stuff. And now DreamHack Atlanta all in one building. Going to be really epic and really fun for everyone involved. Nick, good day of the PPL. NIP, you think this is, again, the right spot for them, the right moving forward. Do you envision them at LAN now in July?
I don't know, man. Lazy and the boys are looking just as scary. They're starting to adapt a little bit on Na'Vi, but how funny would it be for Lazy to leave the team that then now makes the land back over top of him?
I mean, Elven Path, you should ask them how that felt as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys. It's been a great PPL. As always, make sure to stay tuned. Realm Royale is big. Download it on Steam. Watch some Paladins, and we'll see you back tomorrow at 11 a.m. for some PGS action. Never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you all in the Realm.